You don't wake up dreaming of McDonald's fries. You wake up dreaming of McDonald's hash browns. McDonald's breakfast comes first. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Ampire.
Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone, Happy Friday. Wow, what a week, guys. What a week. I'm going to apologize in advance. I will talk some football, but sorry. There's a couple of stories that are superseding it today, and honestly, nothing happened around here in that world anyway, and you know it. So don't make me be the monkey right now and talk about the football. We got to talk about Maryland. We have to, because it's over. Predictably, it ended last night. I swear, I vouched for here. I was texting a friend last night. It was halftime. Maryland was only down 2. And I went, I don't even think I really want to watch the second half because I know what's going to happen. Because Florida had turned the ball over 8,000 times and we're winning anyway.
Yep. Yeah.
And I went, well, that's just not going to again. And yeah, and Maryland's going to lose. It's just going to be a matter of how much. So I was ahead of the curve. Well, one, with everything that had happened, and Florida's a better team anyway, I expected them to lose, and I just didn't know by how much. And even at halftime when the game was close, I'm like, this is not going to go well. It's not going to end well unless they're going to turn the ball over 50 times, because it's just not.
No, that was one of those halves where you're like, they are very lucky to be only down 2. And
Yes.
You look over and that's like the best team talent-wise, top to bottom. You're like, they're probably going to turn things around and this could get ugly. And it did.
Oh, I was on the other side of it. I'm like, Florida's probably sitting there going, I don't know how we're winning after we turn the ball over 8,000 times in the first half. Like, blew 1 million possessions. Maryland, in their defense, did miss it was a very sloppy first half. Missed a bunch of layups. Like, there was a lot going on. There was very, very sloppy. First 10 minutes, I think there was like 4 or 5 baskets made and 8 turnovers. Like, it was really, really, really sloppy. But all right, how into Willard do I want to get into him on the game part of it? I'll get to all the other stuff in a second. I've been trying to say this for a long time, and I love Maryland. You know, I love Maryland basketball. I want the best for it. And I was all in on him a few years ago when they hired him. I think he had the right attitude. There was kind of a Gary-ish feel to him. I think the fan base relates to that kind of angry Northeastern, like, put all their energy into it. We're going to fight you at any point in time. We're going to bite your kneecaps. Like, there's the Jersey part of this area is there. Like, that Eagles fan base resides there. And that's like my alter ego. I like that. I like going to their games because it can be that way. It's the one place around here where it can be that way. And I like it. And I felt that he kind of initiated a lot of this. But I've said this to you 1 million times, and you don't want, right? I never seemingly understand discernibly what they're doing on offense. Okay. So I want to get into the game before I get into all the other stuff that is more important right now. But I do think that this is a big part of this conversation. And when I've gone to games, which is typically after the football season, and I sit with my cousin who has incredible seats, and I'm sitting right there, he will tell you, I say this every single time when I'm sitting there, tell me what offense they're running, because I don't see it. I don't know what they're doing. Like, there's no discernible plan to it. I think Willard is a very good defensive coach. I think you saw that last night. I think when they have really good players, like they do with this NBA player on their team, they're going to be tough to beat because they have talent there. Therefore, he can recruit. So he's gotten some pretty good players. Defensively, I think they play pretty hard. Watch them on offense and explain to me night to night what they're doing. And this happened last night again. And I thought it was exponentially bad. They were, for periods of time, running down the court and just jacking up a shot with nobody in position to potentially rebound it when they have a size advantage and a physicality advantage. They ran the ball through Juju Reese a few times and then just stopped doing it, even though he was the unstoppable part. Derek Queen gets the ball on the perimeter constantly, and he's an outstanding talent, outstanding player. And for his size, his ability to move with the ball, drive the lane, shoot threes, all that stuff, this is why he's going to be a high NBA pick. but why he's not being utilized differently and on the post when there's no chance they can stop him baffles me. They don't run anything that looks like a discernible offense, and they happen to have some of the betters in the country on their team right now, but it's a recipe for what was happening before this year, which is when they have good but not great players like Derek Queen, don't go very far. So it's a large way of getting around to the point of, I'm not really sure, at least on the offensive side of the ball, that this guy's this genius that they're painting him out to be.
No, I mean, there have been gripes with his coaching style of since he's gotten here of whether he is a quote unquote good coach or not. And on top of it, you know, people keep telling that story about how, partway through this year, he had to like sit down with the coaching staff and go, these are the players we have. We have to figure out how to win with these players. And even then it still looks like a hodgepodge on the court of what they're doing with these players. Yes, they had a successful season. They made it to the Sweet 16, but it still didn't look as polished as it should with the amount of talent that they had. Like, we look at that starting five, and it was one of the best starting five we had in a long time over in College Park, and they still didn't really know what to do, even though they had 4 days to prepare for Florida to figure something out, and it didn't look like they had figured anything out.
Identity here. Like, I think, like, I look at him and I go, the identity is going to be toughness because that's what he emanates. And you know what? And I think that's what fits. Like, well, why I liked when they hired him. I'm like, that's the right attitude for Maryland. They want a tough team. Like, they want an attitude team. He's got that. He exudes all of that. But the players don't play that way. At them and goes, that's the toughest team on the court night by night by night. Fine. It doesn't have to be. Are they a good defensive team? Yes. I want to reiterate. Oftentimes, and maybe that's his specialty, they can be a very good defense. Once the floodgate opened last night, it wasn't just that Florida was hitting crazy shots. They were rooking them because they actually have very good players and it's run very well. This is why they're a 1 seed in the toughest conference in the country this year. This is why. And look at them. I don't see anybody there who's like the number 2 draft pick like Maryland has. They don't seem to have somebody like that. They have very good players, very good system. They're well coached. They're well coached. And in Maryland's case, like, their defense completely fell apart and their offense was non-existent when this started to go the wrong way, where all they were doing was jacking up shots, or Derek Queen was like, just give me the ball. I'm going to try to take over. And it became, they were not doing anything remotely within the context of any kind of scheme whatsoever. So I'm not sitting here pretending I'm some kind of basketball expert, but when we get to the more important part of this conversation, which we're about to, that needs to be taken into account, because I've been yelling about this for a week since he did what he did, which is, if you're going to make this kind of move, you better be on the other side of it damn sure that he's the guy. Literally the guy. He's Pitino, Calipari, Coach K, whoever you like think is the great coaches. Do you really think he's that? Because you better be right, because that's the corner you're being pushed into by him. And I think he's a good coach, but I haven't seen the results. And honestly, when I watch the team play, I don't see the characteristics of an extremely well-coached team. They're not bad. They're not embarrassing, but they don't exude that to me, right? So now we can get to the other part of this.
The coaching comparison I'll just make real quick here is it's Jay Gruden. Like, not terrible results, but fine results to good results at times, and kind of just drove the ship. That's who he reminds me of from a coaching aspect, and a guy that also doesn't exactly exude this rah-rah type feeling where he's rallying the troops, so to speak. That's my comparison for him.
Yes. And then last night I'm watching the telecast, things start to get out of hand, and they invariably have to turn to his future. Yeah. Okay. Dan Bonner, Stan Van Gundy are on the call with Kevin Harlan last night. I thought they did a very good job. And considering the game got out of hand, what are you going to do? Right. And at one point, and there's a clip, you can see this, where Dan Bonner and Stan Van Gundy kind of weigh in on this. And Stan Van Gundy basically says, look at his history. Ralph Willard was this great college basketball coach. He's been around a long time. He knows what he's doing. Like, if you're Maryland, you can't let him walk out the door. Was basically like, you got to step up, give him what he wants, and just do that. In the meantime, okay, and I like, okay, if that's the position he wants to take, that's fine. But like, in the meantime, for the previous 15 minutes of game time, he was criticized for not running the ball through Juju Reese when that was the one player Florida literally couldn't stop on the blocks, had no answer for. 2, jacking up threes before anybody was in position. 3, going on and on about how this had become a really bad, inexplicably rebounding team over the last few weeks, that like for some reason they're getting destroyed on the boards. So he's listing all of these reasons in this high leverage moment without saying Kevin Willard's at fault. He's listing all these moments where he goes, I don't know, guys, like, how are you going to win when you're doing these types of things every single night? And then comes around to, but you have to give him everything he wants, which I thought was, really? Did you just hear what you said about him? Like, for the last 20 minutes in the Sweet 16 game, they weren't, by your own admission, giving themselves the best chance to win. And honestly, if you like watch it, Stan does a lot of, NBA basketball. So they always end up these, they have to fly in if they'll kind of learn a word. But like, if you'd watched them all year, I think they were a product of having better players than most of the teams they played, and specifically a lottery pick on their team. And that was the difference. And I mean, even the night I went to, they boat raced Ohio State to one of the games I went to. It was very impressive. But in the second half, they let up on the gas. I think I talked about it on this show. And I'm like, a good coaching staff puts their foot down on people's necks, does not allow anybody any life. Like, I just at times don't see the otherworldly coaching that like is being somewhat attributed to him. I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think any of that stuff. But what we're talking about now, when he leverages you for whatever he's asking for that you have to kowtow to, well, now you better be damn sure that he's amazing. And that's the part where I go, I'm not so sure about that, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing, too. The reality with Maryland as well, they keep going after these types of guys that are working their way up, but don't have like this home run type potential either. And this is Willard. Like, this is Willard in a nutshell, what you're describing, that he seems to be okay, can rally the troops at times, but has a lot to be desired, I guess is really what I'm getting at here. There's a lot to be desired, and the way that he's acting doesn't match the type of coach he is either. I think that's really what it's boiling down to, and why you've brought up the point of, is he the Coach K? Is he that type of guy? Do you want to bend the knee to that coach when he doesn't kind of warrant what some of these all-time greats, and like I said, I'm not trying to call him an all-time great, but the guys that warrant you reacting, oh crap, we better step up and pay him all this money and give him all the power. He's not that type of guy, essentially.
And it appears that Maryland didn't say anything publicly, but like, obviously everything's so crazy with the AD walking out the door that they do want him back. And I'll reference last week when I was out, I happened to be out with a bunch of very high profile Maryland boosters, because I was at an event at College Park and they just happened to be there, and this had all started. And I was just talking to them, and they all kind of admitted like they do want him back. And I brought up what I'm talking to you about here, where I'm like, do you really think he's that great? Like, because it's one thing if you think he's really good and you think he's good for the program, but he's not causing these kind of waves or he's not jeopardizing the entire athletic department and their future, or he's not now squarely putting Loxley in the middle of a cross of in the crossfire, because if you make all these changes and you kowtow to this and you change all that, well, that affects everybody, right? He put himself in position to be king of College Park. So it's a fair question to then ask the people at Maryland, do you want him to be the king, or do you want someone else to be the king and allot to him what he thinks he needs? And then the other thing I want to bring up, I read some pieces in Philadelphia and some other insiders who are going, look, in the changing dynamic of collegiate sports, NIL and resources, there's a revenue share model that's coming. And in this revenue share model, schools that favor football are going to give a lot more money to field their football teams. And, schools that favor basketball, of course, are going to do, the same. And in the Big East, where none of these schools have any of these major D1 programs, that actually going from a place like Maryland to go to Villanova actually financially could make more sense than you think it does, because Villanova is going to allot the amount of money that they need for the men's basketball program, because it's your football program that they need to fund or value to fund. So I'll hear out this argument that the finances of how things work right now are different. That said, I just can't for the life of me believe that it is better served to go to a school like that to win as it is to be in the Big Ten and be outside of Washington, D.C. and be the prominent program of this area. You're not going to be able to sell me on that. And I will hear out the push and pull of, I want some of Lox's NIL money or revenue share money to come to me because we've had more success. Let's figure out how that works. Or, hey guys, just raise more. Sorry, we're the Big Ten. Do that. I will hear him out on that. But this idea that it is definitively likely that he would have a better chance to win at Villanova than he would here, I'm having a hard time with that. Like I am. I'm just having a hard time with that. But that seems to be what's being sold here a little bit.
No, and I mean, look, we kind of discussed it over the last week or so with how Loxley could be a good coach, but how good could Maryland ever be on the football side of things in the Big Ten? Maybe the fourth or fifth best team if they were to have like an all-time season, right? Whereas in hoops, I feel like it's the complete opposite. You are always in the, not always, but you are and you can be in the mix anytime with the basketball programs in the Big Ten. Like, you had a really successful season this past year. Like, you get to then say to your recruits, you get to play against Izzo and all these other teams, and you get to come here, which we are a basketball school. It is a little bit different than the Big East, which honestly, the Big East feels like it's hanging on by a thread too, right? Of being a league in general, because football is basically running everything. So I don't know what even the future of that league is too. You're right. Like, maybe he does get a little bit more money for basketball, but you still know that football runs everything. So how viable is it to move over to that program? I don't know. And here's the other thing too, in the reality of the situation is he's doing this 3 years in, not 6 years in, not 10 years in, 3 years in. Like, that's a tough pill to swallow from all parties, honestly. Like, even from him to make this jump this fast, and then even for Maryland to make the call of, we haven't even seen this guy. He's had one very successful season where he gets a lottery pick on here and gets a good starting four around that lottery pick. We don't even know if he could do this again. Like, this could be a literal one-off. We don't know if we're going to get this again. Like, it's a very tough decision all the way around. That's why I think there's so much drama around it, because he's pulling the coup faster than I think anyone would have thought. Yes. I guess is what I'm getting at here.
He is. And then of course he does and his press conferences have been swings and misses for a week and a half now. And this one doesn't take the cake. The one where he was asked about where are we after last week's press conferences, and he ignored the question like it was spoken to him in Mandarin and said, we're worried about covering some guy on Florida, and just acted like insolent about the whole thing. That one, I hate that. It's just like, you know what? Don't even do a press conference then. If that's what you're going to do and you're going to act like we're all stupid, then just don't even do it. And it only makes you look stupid, honestly, because everybody watches it and goes, good one, bro. You just trolled the guy from the Maryland, from the Terrapin newspaper. Wow, good job for trolling him. And that was an inappropriate question. Really? Was it after you publicized all this and the AD left? Like, he's out of line to ask you a question like that. Now you're going to make him look, you think you're looking cool by making him look stupid? Give me a break. So what was his answer last night? What are you going to do? I haven't talked to my agent. Really? That's your answer? You haven't talked to your agent? Let me see if I got this right. You looked at a term sheet. You pushed the AD who was leaving anyway off the cliff. There no AD there. You go, I don't know who my boss is. Yeah, you're part of the problem there. You name checked some other guy who you said you love talking to. Who is he going to be there or not be there? I don't know. The guy apparently you name checks worked there for a quarter century. Why would he be leaving? Like, who said he's leaving? What are you talking about? You name check all these boosters who have helped you. Like, I don't know, man. Like, this is the dumbest, stupidest excuse to sit there and go, well, I haven't talked to my agent about it. He's doing all this stuff on my behalf. Give me a break. Like, do you think we were born yesterday? Why would you even give an answer like that? Just say no comment. Like, if you can't figure out how to say something that sounds actually realistic, don't say anything at all. Stop gaslighting everything. Like, we're all over it, okay? The Signal chat was classified. Stop telling me it wasn't, okay? Of course it was. Stop telling me it wasn't. I don't believe you. I didn't talk to my agent. Oh, okay. Yeah. You haven't talked to him in weeks, huh? Haven't said a word to him? Come on, man. Like, stop acting like we're idiots here.
The spinning in the mud yesterday was like kind of the final straw for me of like, this guy's definitely on the way out, but like the way he's gone about it is just about the worst way possible. And it was that spinning in the mud, because then he finally got asked about, like staying at Maryland, not staying, whatever. And I just remember he had a quote on like, oh, well, the AD that brought me in, that hired me, isn't here anymore. And I really liked him. And I'm like, bro, you pushed him out the door a week ago. You're the one that said, oh, he's probably going to SMU. You're the one that said, oh, he's probably going to SMU. That blew this whole thing up. Like, this is on you just as much as anyone else. Actually, it is all on you. And so the spinning in the mud yesterday was like, I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this happen. Like, I feel gaslit, and I'm not even all that into Maryland that much, because he's backtracking on everything and making excuses. And I mean, that was really the key of like, he is gone. Like, there's no way he's not after the way he's acting. Like, this is the guy that's like getting ready to leave town overnight because he knows he's on his way out, because the way he was talking yesterday was flat out ridiculous. I couldn't believe what I was hearing and what I was seeing last night.
You know what? Like, listen, I want whoever comes in anywhere, especially there. I agree with Kevin Willard on one point. They need to have all the resources to try to win, and they need to figure out how to do that. And it sounds like Maryland is one of the schools that hasn't quite figured out how to do it yet. And they're the new thing. Everybody's adjusting to it, and they're trying to figure it out. And that is a problem. I agree with him on that. Like, we're in a new world. You have to be able to pay these players a certain amount of money, or you can't get them without some minor exceptions of people who just want to go there because they want to go there. And that's going to be rare. They're going to go where the money are out. His complaints about this. But at some point, too, when you have a $50 million basketball facility that's about to open for you, you're getting paid among the top, 5-10% of your profession. You're at a Big Ten school. It's a I know you laugh at me at this. It's a legacy school. He's followed in the footsteps of two Hall of Fame basketball coaches that were there for a long time. Lefty Driesell, Gary Williams. They were extremely competitive for like 40-something years, with the exception of what happened after like the post-lefty era with Len Bias, Bob Wade, and all the things that Gary had to bring them out of programs in the country until Gary won a championship and seemingly got tired of trying to win constantly, and then eventually retired. And then Turgeon was never a bad coach. We made fun of him a lot. He was never a bad coach, but my point is, this is not a place that hasn't won before. This is not a place that doesn't have a legacy of the sport. Stop acting like you're God around here. Because you haven't won anything yet, and all you're doing is blaming everybody else. You're literally blaming everybody else. So to all the Maryland people who seem so googly-eyed with the idea of, we literally cannot let this guy walk out the door, oh God, it's going to be the worst thing that ever happened to us. Look at how he's handling himself right now, and ask yourself a serious question. Is this how you want your department and your program to be represented? And you are about to make him and anoint him the king. If you give him all these things that he's talking about that he wants, he basically has ceded all of the power. So I think they're in a really funny spot now. I don't like the way he's represented everything. And even if a lot of it is true, why in the world would you go public with something like that? Like, I've had high profile jobs where things weren't going particularly well at a particular point in time. And I never would have gone on the air and did all the grievances of what was actually wrong. There is seemingly zero, maybe not zero, because he seemed to have circled back a little bit to this guy helped me, this guy helped me, this guy, like realizing that you need to be grateful on some level because there are people that are trying to give you what you want. You're just not getting everything you want, and you can't be a petulant child about it. At some point, you have to realize they are trying to support you.
Well, and on top of all of it, like, you went for the power grab, and it was a rightful power grab. I think that was the weird thing with this whole saga. Was a week ago we're talking about how this was the right move for him, that like this was the platform to do it on. It was actually, over a week ago, but you know what I'm getting at here. We all kind of were like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. But at the same time, everyone started talking about it. He said it on Wednesday. He didn't address it for the rest of the weekend. And then when he's asked about it again, all of a sudden the tune has changed, that like basically he's ignoring it, where it's like, no, dude, you asked for what you wanted. Maryland seemingly wants to do that for you. And now you don't even want to address what you talked about. It's a mess, man. Like, we haven't had one of these in a while, but like, talk about bowing out gracefully. He's not doing it. Like, this makes the old Mark Turgeon, my family can't handle criticism, stepping down look like child's play compared to what Willard's doing right now, essentially.
Yes. Listen, in the end, like, I believe you make fun of me. I believe Maryland's a basketball because there's a massive legacy there. No, they haven't won like Duke or Kentucky or Carolina or Kansas, but they've won a lot. And it goes back and it's in history. And they've had Hall of Fame coaches here, and they do have a fan base here that really genuinely cares about it and wants it to be great. And are they doing all the right things in the modern, landscape of the sport to compete at the highest level? I'll hear out Kevin Willard that they're not. And it's not like that I think that that's like off base. He's right about some of that stuff. They do need to do better. But the coach also has to want to be here to make it want to get better. He has to be appreciative of the people who are trying very hard to raise the funds to do it. And that's just not what I heard over the last week. When he pulled the original power move, I'm like, you know what? He's using his leverage. He's doing what he's going to do. But it read to me like it meant he was staying. To do what he did and to leave, come on. Like, see, that's where it's wrong. And he hasn't done that yet. So I'm not accusing him of it. And the Maryland people seem to want to keep him, and there seems to be some kind of open-mindedness to it. But if at 4:00 today we read he's going to Villanova because he snuck out the door in the Mayflower trucks like the Colts, I wouldn't be surprised, because I have a feeling that that's where this is heading. But I'm not going to accuse him of it because he hasn't done it yet. At least at the time of this recording, he hasn't done it yet. But it feels like that's what's happening, and that's where this is wrong. Why would you air all this dirty laundry? Why would you push the AD over the cliff even if he was leaving anyway? Why would you do that? Why would you call out that this school basically can't win in the modern era and that they're too focused on the wrong things or can't raise money or et cetera, et cetera? You're blowing up everybody who's doing everything in their power to try to help you, only to walk out the door. That's wrong. If you're doing it to stay, I don't love it, but I'll hear out your reasoning. If you're doing it to leave, wow, man, like that's a little, and I think it's unfair to everybody there who is trying with their best effort to try to make Maryland great.
The other side of this too is, he said what he said, and then Mike Locksley had to respond to it. And Mike Locksley had a very calm response to all of it, right? What if Locksley wasn't calm and did say something crazy, and all of a sudden all you did was hit the nuke button essentially and then walk out the door, and then Locksley standing there? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying Locksley wouldn't have had a little bit to blame there, but Locksley did a very good thing over the weekend where he just said, I think things should stay internal, and wiped his hands of it. And that was the smartest thing Locksley could have done, because even Locksley probably saw, do you all see what I'm seeing? Because this guy could be gone in 10 days. I'm not going to even put my hands in this mess until I know he's actually going to be here on the other side too. So I give Locksley a lot of credit here. He kind of just went, I'm going to plead the fifth essentially on this stuff, because I don't even know if he's going to be here, and he might be right about that.
And then the last thing on this, like, that was the best team they've had in a while. That was the deepest run they've had in a while. We all knew they were going to lose because no one overcomes this type of stuff. Yep. Nobody. They lost badly last night. And it sucks because you could have waited 2 weeks to do this. You just did not have to do it. Either way, stay or go. You did not have to do it that way. Put on you and not your team. And then to anyone who said, like, well, if he's walking out the door, don't let him coach. My response to that would be, I would ask the players, do they want him to coach the team? Because if they do, you don't change a thing.
Yeah.
But if they don't, because they were pissed, that's a different story. In the end, he made the best team they've had with the best run they could have had all about him, all about the shortcomings of the school that he's coaching in the Sweet 16. Guy, like, just professional advice. Whether you're here or not, don't ever do that again. Like,
right.
You're lucky you have a lot of people chasing you. Don't ever do that again. Like, whether you stay or go, it's just not right what you did.
Yeah, no, agreed. Like, there's a million ways you can go about this. He has done it the wrong way. Is essentially where I've landed on it.
100%. All right, let me take a quick break. Bray wants to show ESPN 630 Sports Capital.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase of 16 weeks, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the Jumbotron first, before attempting to eat a stack of Supreme nachos in one bite. Now you're just a meme that everyone shares on game day. Checking first is smart, so check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
All right, welcome back. I just saw the first win totals for 2025 in the NFL get put out. Commanders are at, this is actually wrong, it's 10.5, not 10. 10.5 is where they're at. So welcome to a new world where this is a team that had won double-digit games, twice over the last 25, 30 years before they got to last season. And now they're walking into a season where they're expected to be 10.5, which means expectation playoffs, which means Vegas says to start this. Here we are in the middle of March. We haven't even had a draft yet. They're basically saying they're a team we expect to be there. That wasn't a one-off.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't surprising at all looking at who the quarterback is. I will say it's a perfect drop from last year too. I knew they were not going to put it at 11.5 or 12.5, mainly because of the Eagles, but also the schedule. We've talked about it a little bit here, but the schedule looks to be a little bit tougher, and 10 wins. That's tougher. Yeah, like 10.5. That sounds about right from where they're going to be, who they're playing, where they're playing some of these teams. That is spot on. Vegas rarely gets it wrong with this stuff.
So the Eagles have a higher win total, as you might imagine, but it's only 11.5. It's only 11 acknowledgement of the schedule is going to be harder, and it's for basically everybody. Like, we have the AFC West and the NFC North this year. Those two might be the two deepest divisions in football, and they're playing all 8 of those teams. The extra game Washington got is Miami. If it's Miami of a couple of years ago, that's not easy. If it's Miami of last year, we'll see. But it's a road game and potentially could be an international game. We're not even really totally sure at this point. The schedule's a lot different, at least on paper right now, than it was. But it's not just us. Like the Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants have to deal with it too. We're all playing the same division. Like there's only a couple of differences in between those schedules. Washington also gets Atlanta because they were a second place team in their division. They could be a very different team this year, as opposed to what they were last year. So the schedule, I think, is a big part of it. But being set at 10, I think, is it's a confident number about them that they're going to be good again. I don't see why you wouldn't feel that way with this quarterback and where they were a year ago. And what I think is, at least on offense, massive upgrades to the roster with Tunsil and Debo coming in. But still, Eagles come in at 11.5. They got the Cowboys at 8.5. At this juncture, knowing what the schedule is, I'd go under that with them. And they got the Giants at 5.5. So they're not totally buying Russ. They're not totally buying Jameis. They're not totally buying if they do draft a quarterback, and they're not buying what I think are upgrades on defense for them. They think they're going to be bad again.
Yeah, no, on all of those, Dallas is the one that's wonky, though, because I could see Dallas actually getting 8 or 9 wins with that roster. Like, I think they're going to actually be on the cusp of that if they stay healthy, right? Because let's say they draft Ashton Genty and they get a stud running back in there. I could see them getting their way to 9 wins. So I could definitely see that. The Giants one, that's about right. Like, I don't care what their quarterback room really looks like. I don't think any of those guys instills confidence in anybody of being consistent. Like, we're going to see Russ and Jameis at some point, right? Like, we don't think one guy is going to start. We don't think Russ is going to start every single game. I don't, let alone if they draft somebody too. They could still draft somebody. So that one's about right. Eagles at 11.5. Also, same thing. Sounds about right. If they're healthy, we know what that team could do. They're the best team in the NFL when they're healthy too. So Eagles, I'd be privy to go over just to do it, but it all sounds about right in terms of how the NFC East is going to roll.
Deion Sanders went on Skip Bayless's show. Surprised he did that, but he went on Skip Bayless's show, and he was asked what I think is an important question as we're a month out from the draft. Are you telling teams not to draft your son? And I think, of all the hot takes that Skip does, I think this is an appropriate question because Deion insinuated this in the past. Want Cleveland to take him because they got the number 2 pick. Like, do you really, or do you not want to, are you telling them not to take him? Like, what are you saying right now? And he's backed off and told Skip, I am not making Shador a quote unquote Eli. We're very happy. Or he means like, because Eli Manning refused to go to the Chargers and was forced to trade, that ended up going to the Giants. And that kind of worked out for both of them. They got Phillip Rivers. They had Eli won Super Bowls, but Rivers was outstanding in his career too. Anyway, he's backed off of it now. I don't know that I totally believe him. I would imagine there are a couple teams that he wouldn't want them to go to, but he did. There was a clear slip that he made because he said Shador's taking all these visits. He's liked all the teams. He said all the right things. And he's like, if it's the Giants, and the Browns, the Titans, he said everything. And he goes, and if it's still Vegas, which was a really interesting slip of, I think my son was going there until Pete Carroll traded for Geno Smith. And now I know my son isn't going there, but it sounds also like you could kind of hear in that slip, I wanted him to go there. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen now.
I read that one as all it was an acknowledgement that they got Geno. I didn't think it was actually anything more than that. That like basically, they were one of the teams that literally didn't have a quarterback at all, bar none, period. They have one now. But we wouldn't be shocked if they were to draft Shador. So I don't know. I didn't read too much into it. Just that it was an acknowledgement of that coaching staff got a quarterback and we're kind of crossing him off the list, but maybe they could still draft him. That's all I looked at it as.
Yeah, and I think like in the NFL, honestly, like there are very few places I would look at and go, you really shouldn't go there. Like I think it really is timing. Who is the coach? Who's the GM? What's the timing of every few years ago? There was this running thing that free agents were or didn't want to be like some people might not want to be drafted, or didn't want to be free agents, didn't want to come here because of what the situation was with what's going on with ownership and all the changes and the tumult and all that stuff. And then overnight, everybody wants to come here. So I feel like that can happen in a lot of places. You got to go to the right place at the right time. Caleb Williams was in the wrong place at the wrong time with Chicago last year. He might be in the right place at the right time right now, like a year too late. So we'll have to see how it plays out. All right, since you're a uniform head, I want to get a rendering and a judgment on this. So the Titans had been wearing the Houston Oiler throwback jerseys the last couple of years. They notably did it when they played the Texans once a couple years ago. And the Houston fans reasonably got pissed. And actually, the ownership of the Texans said something about it at the time. And they were like, your fans, this means nothing to you, just like you're trolling us by wearing our jerseys because you're allowed to, right? So they wore them again. And listen, they're awesome. like they're a cool, old school, incredible jersey, right? They've decided, shelve those. So you're not going to see the Oiler helmets anymore. But they're taking that color blue and it's becoming their primary color for their home jersey. So they're getting rid of what is the darker blue or the white, and they're going with the old school love ya blue from the Houston Oiler days to what they're calling the Titan blue. Fair? Unfair? Now that they're wearing this all the time, even though it will be with Titans insignia stuff on it.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's always been light blue has been their home color anyways. They have the navy one where they flip them, but I'm pretty sure the light blue has always been their home jersey.
This one, though, the color scheme they're going was a lot closer to what the Oilers used to look like. And they basically said that our fans really like this.
Okay, well, powder blue is undefeated in every sport. Let's be real here. So Uniform Geek, comes through here that powder blue is like one of the best sports colors. Scrap the Houston look, though. Like, I was offended that they were wearing that against the Texans. Not just once, but like constantly they were wearing it against it. I'm like, just as a sports fan in general, I don't think that's good karma to ever rub it into another city, another fan base, another, set of fans that, oh, we took your team and now we're going to wear that look. I think that's a terrible look. I think that's like one of the classless things that you could do in any sport. Like, I remember not a few years ago, we're talking like 5-6 years ago, when the Nats, they decided to wear the Expos jerseys for one day. They all wore Expos, uniforms. I forget who they even played that day, but it wasn't like they were playing the Blue Jays or playing another Montreal team or something. I think that's okay. But to wear it against the team that you basically ripped them out from, and then they got an expansion team, I think it's off limits. I've hated that the Titans did that in the past. So the fact that this is a new jersey, I don't really care. And it's similar to the old color that they're wearing, but good that they're going to not make it like the Oilers throwback, because I hated that they did that against them. And I get it. They're in the division, but it's petty. Like, stop doing that. And like, the Titans, you haven't been good enough to warrant doing that to the Texans either. The Texans win that division every single year. Like,
that's true.
Like this is a little akin to Ron doing the benches thing to the Cowboys a couple years ago, where the Cowboys were just killing the WFT and the Commanders at the time. And it was like, why are you doing this when you're not in a position to even beat them right now? That's how I feel about it. And I'm glad that they're at least going to eliminate the Oilers side of things on this.
One other quick thing. I'd like to thank Good Morning Football for inviting me to come on their show yesterday. I thought, because Walsh, I used to do SportsCenter, what's been a guest on the show, is a very good friend of mine, had kind of asked really for me to come on to do it with her, partially because I think she just wanted to do a segment with me again on TV, which I was really thankful for. I haven't done one with her in a long time, and we loved working together at ESPN. But I thought for sure it was a setup. Like, she was gonna, I didn't know what, I went into the whole thing going, I don't know how I'm getting railroaded, but I know I'm getting railroaded here. I just don't, it's TV. You don't know what they're going to do. But it wasn't. They actually asked my input on what do I want to do on this? What story would I want to tell? So I got to tell the story of why I loved the Cincinnati moment more than any other moment last year. And they gave me the opportunity to do that. So thank you to them for the invitation and for not ambushing me and falling prey to whatever Sarah's real hopes and dreams were, which were to interest me on some level on TV. So I appreciate that. And it was really fun to do it, to go on with them and share a couple stories from last year, which was obviously the most amazing season we've ever had. So it was awesome.
I saw a couple of the clips. It was pretty good. And I was going to say, to remind you, like, this is the off season. They're pulling for stories too. So like, they were going to use you for the full 10, 20 minutes, however long they had you on in total.
They did. All right, let me take a quick break. Bram wants to show his P at 6:30, the Sports Capital.
There are people out there all across the country pushing boundaries to grow the game of golf. Like champion speed golfer Lauren Cupp, who plays faster than anyone else. And Will Lowry, whose work in the golf community inspires more kids to get into the game. As a champion partner of the Masters, Bank of America supports everyone determined to find out what's possible. In golf and in life. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, copyright 2025, Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
Pro Savings Days are back at Lowe's with limited time savings on the supplies pros need. Get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, save an additional $100 on every $1,000 you spend on select major appliances. And don't miss your chance to activate and earn 3 times the points on select DeWalt and Klein tools. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/28. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for more details on qualifying items.
All right. A couple of quick things. The Bulls had the most preposterous finish I've ever seen. March Madness had nothing on that one. 10 seconds left to cut it to 2. Steal inbounds pass, Reggie Miller style. Hit another 3, give them lead. Lakers call timeout, go down court, get a layup, get lead back. 2 seconds left, no timeouts left. Josh Giddey hits a half-court shot to win. Unreal, incredible finish last night.
No, that was ridiculous. And you have LeBron going through all the drama that he's going through. So like the Lakers are under a microscope right now. And that was like chef's kiss to like what's been going on drama wise with them. That was an amazing finish.
In another NBA game, the Wizards gave up 162 points at home.
How many did the Wizards score?
I'm sorry. Listen, I've stayed away in general from talking about them at all because I just can't. I cannot drum up the brain cells to give them any attention this year because I know what they're doing. You know what they're doing. And I can't sit here and try to paint something good about it. Let me know if you get Cooper flag or not. I mean, I can't. But this is now, we're at the point of absurdity if you give up that many points to anybody at home.
It's tank season, man. Scores don't matter. They're losing. I'm going to leave it at that.
They do a little bit. They do a little bit. That's embarrassing. That's a crazy number. Okay. That's a crazy number in an NBA game.
Cooper Flag is wearing a Wizards jersey this time next year. I don't care. We're not going to remember this. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'll say at that point.
From opening day. Enough with booing Harper.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure.
Just enough. Yeah. All right, enough. Like, it's been a long time now. Like, can we just forget it?
What I don't understand with this is he left. The vibes changed. They won a World Series. He signed on for a real contract. Remember, he was offered deferred money into his 50s here. It's weird energy. I don't understand it. And then like at the same time too, everyone's like, oh, well, he signed on with the division rival. Well, you didn't boo Trey Turner yesterday, did you? Like, I don't understand this. It's dumb. And all you did was boo him. And then he hits a home run, which I am privy to think that it fueled him to hit that home run. So it's stupid. Stop booing him.
Yeah, I'm done. I know. Enough already. Let's see. Last thing. Caps lost to the Wild last night. No goal for Ovi. I did think it was very classy what they did at the end, where he had the whole team come out to shake hands with Marc-Andre Fleury because he's going to retire. So he had battle after battle after battle for years when he was the Penguins goaltender. It's the Hall of Fame goalie. Thought that was very classy. No goal here. Caps lose. I assume you don't think that's that big of a deal that they lost. It's 2 in a row now. Not that big of a deal.
You say Penguins goalie. I say Vegas Golden Knights goalie player.
That's true.
That was just as big. No, I'm not panicking on this one. The way they lost, though, was kind of a dagger. They gave up their third goal with 10 seconds left in the second period. Minnesota, before last night, was 27-0-0 going into the third period with the lead. They're the best team when they have a lead going into the third period. So when that happened, it felt like, oh, God, like they got their lead. They're going to lock in. They did lock in. Ovi doesn't score, unfortunately, and he loves playing there in Minnesota. So he's got to get it back together coming up on Sunday. But no panic here. That's a good team that they lost to.
Yeah, and they got a bad one coming in Sunday. So should be back home, couple days off, layup, I would hope, on Sunday against Buffalo.
The Caps, I think they have like the easiest schedule from here on out in the NHL in terms of teams that are not in the playoffs. So they should be able to just get it back on track here. Hopefully Ovechkin gets back on track with the record too.
All right, everybody. Talk to you Monday. Brave Buster Show is ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.